All right, you ready?
Ready?
Ready. I'm ready.
Okay, here we are.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is Everlasting.
Twin Feathers!
And you are at home with E.T.
Yes, we are home.
Weehaw!
Woohoo!
And we have been through a most amazing adventure the last couple of months.
Yeah.
I like that chuckle.
Mm-hmm.
And we have gleaned so much wonderful fertilizer.
Oh, that's a good one.
Fertilizer.
I was going to say wisdom, but wisdom fertilizer.
Yeah.
Fertilizer wisdom.
Fertilizer
I don't know.
wisdom.
Something. Yeah.
From the adventure. And it felt really good and light and right to share all of it with you. Because, you know, we love you and we are you, and why would we want to keep it to ourselves, right?
Yeah, you will probably see yourselves in at least one or two of these little things that we have come up with in the last few weeks. Yes.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, we have, for a long time ago, a long time now, we have both had the calling to be mobile, to be on the road, to live that gypsy nomadic lifestyle, to reach as many people as possible and connect with as many people as possible, and bring our ministry, mission, service to as many people as possible.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so when we came together, it was like, ooh, two gypsies. All we need is a gypsy wagon. And recently we saw things opening up to give us an opportunity to get into a gypsy wagon. And we started looking at RVs, also known as recreation vehicles. And went through this interesting adventure through the whole process. And when everything fell apart last week, we took a day and went out to a very magical space that we have close by called an ancient forest. Spent time there. And then we let ourselves just follow the sun and follow the right turns and the left turns and be open. And in that openness, we both had set the intention to receive any awareness that benefited us about the adventure we had just been on with the RV, with that whole process of finding two, not just one, but two vehicles that we were very much in love with and would feel very good traveling in. And then, you know, losing them due to the financial matrix that the current society exists in. And as we were driving around in the back rows, just allowing all of the information that benefited us to come in, we were at a point on the road and I saw a big sign and it said recreation center or recreation area.
Yeah,
recreation area.
Yeah.
And I said, well, look at that. If you look at recreation, you could also put a little hyphen in there and it's recreation. And that opened up a whole nother rabbit hole.
Viewpoint.
Another rabbit hole.
Yeah, they are.
Of, recreation vehicles. And one thing that came in this morning for me, early in the morning, because I turn on around 2 in the morning and start processing and working and doing things. And this morning, one of my peeps came in and we were having a conversation, and he was sharing some some vantage points to what had been experienced that I couldn't see from being in the forest.
With the trees.
With the trees. He pulled me out of the forest so I could see the trees in a different way, basically. And what really has stuck with me, and we've been talking about it all morning, is we are the recreation vehicles.
Yep.
We are.
Yep. Constantly recreating ourselves, even on a daily basis.
And we are the vehicle for recreation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It doesn't happen without us.
Right.
You think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Without us having a dream or a vision or a calling or a thought,
or an intention,
inspiration, without us having that and then opening and acting on our guidance, nothing gets created.
Well, that's not completely probably accurate, because things are being created whether we intentionally, consciously focus on it or not. So for me, it's more about whether I am consciously focused on intending, etc., versus if we don't, then we get the unconscious creations, which are whatever we've been getting and whatever we've been focused on before. So Ray and I have been on this journey together of really, really allowing ourselves to stay focused on now and our true intentions, and being in alignment with what brings us the most joy. So in that vein, we have been doing that, and we have seen, since we had that little glaring shift in going in a direction, and all of a sudden that direction is no longer available, and going with everything, and really looking at, we were able to start seeing, and immediately when we ask, we start seeing all the little bits that were in the way of making or allowing those things to happen, the recreation vehicle to show up in the physical, so that we could get on the road. So we wanted to share some of those things with you.
And I would add to that it's and it's gone.
I love it. Well,
there we go.
Swiss cheese memory, my dad used to call that. Yep.
Yeah.
And hopefully it'll come back.
If it's important, it will come back.
It will. I promise.
So I love what you said about either we're consciously creating or we're subconsciously or unconsciously creating, whichever term you want to use. But we're either using our consciousness to create, or we're creating from an unawareness.
Yeah.
And that's been the really big aha moments for me, especially the last couple of days, is seeing these points of views that I didn't pay attention to. It's not that I didn't see them, it's that they are so familiar that I went right over them. Just like, oh yeah. And, one of them was, for me, was that I went into this, and I think when we first started talking about, we found this RV but we're going to have to finance it. And you made a statement about, well, I'll never get financed because of this reason. And I made a statement, well, I'll never be able to get financed because of this reason. So in that moment, instead of stopping and Control-Alt-deleting those, we just full steam ahead.
We just left them there.
we were in that moment of excitement and yay, it's time, and we feel it. And so instead of paying attention to that and moving that little pebble out of the way, it became a boulder in the steamrolling of our excitement. And so that was interesting because that popped in this morning, did it really surprise you that the financing didn't work? Because you remember saying this at the beginning. I'm like, oh snap, look at that.
And each time we were refused, there it is again. Oh, yep, we proved it again and again and
proved
again.
it.
I bet you've done that before in some way.
Oh, no. No, I never say something's going to happen and then it happens and then I go, why did that happen? Never. Not me. So, onward. One of the other things that popped in, was that yesterday? I think it was. Anyway, gold stars, that popped in.
Oh, gosh.
It was interesting because my guy that I've been working with recently, he's like, oh, well, look at this. And, because I was like, well, what is this about, this whole experience? He said, well, look at this. He said, do you remember when you were in kindergarten and you worked really hard to conform to the matrix so that you could get that gold star? And if you didn't get the gold star, you weren't good enough. Gold stars, blue ribbons, grades. I know for me, grades were big. My mother put a lot of, quote, value on, quote, good grades. And so there's this whole system that starts value system that starts at an early age. And I realized that that's one of the resistances that I have to the current matrix, is that and I could look back at each time we submitted a request for funding for this RV to happen. I could look back and see where I was going, this is not fair that someone else who doesn't even know me is using some
arbitrary, seemingly arbitrary to us.
I mean, some calculation to determine my value. Without even knowing me. And, it's like, we've got to pull your credit to determine if you're a good enough, quote, risk. And yet when we pull your credit, it reduces your credit score. So that if you go and try get credit somewhere else, now you have a lower credit, so you're a less valuable credit risk.
It's a no-win system.
And that's been my issue with the system ever since I worked in the system as a young woman in my 20s and got familiar with finance and banking and all that. And it's to me, it's a very unjust, unfair, and that's my point of view about that system. And I carried all of that point of view, that energy of it's not supportive of me, it's not just, I don't like it. And he's showing me all this, and I'm going, wow, that's no way to make good things happen.
No. Well, and it's funny because when she said gold stars, I went, yeah, I love gold stars. And I even have this beautiful sequin gold star on my favorite winter beanie. And it can be either gold or silver. And I always keep it on gold. And I always feel like I'm the best when I wear that. And I realize
because you have a gold star.
Because I have a gold star now all the time.
Yeah.
And so...
And don't let it switch. And this is funny because when we got to talking about it, I remembered when she first moved in, she's like, oh no, you've got to keep it on gold. It can't go over to silver.
No.
And I'm looking at her going, okay.
No,
All right.
it's got to be gold. And
Because gold is the best.
when I heard her say gold star, my little girl went putting her hands on her hips. Go, wait a minute.
I want the gold
I
star.
want the gold star. And so I realized that it tied into this whole, old programming. So I have now let go of that hat, and real, REALEYEZ, realized that that is an old program. And so Control-Alt-Delete that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We've been Control-Alt-Deleting
a
a lot this week.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fascinating because I have worked with the Master Key System and the Law of Nature for decades. I spent 5 years teaching it, and yet it's still wonderful to me to have these moments where we have the opportunity to see it at an even bigger level, and find those deeper layers and those deeper programs, because although we can discover these hidden programs and these hidden points of views and hidden beliefs and things, without the experience, it is so much more
easier to see,
tangible. It's so much more tangible, and it's so much more in your face.
I was gonna say, if it's in your face, it's hard to ignore. I mean, you can, and we have. It's like one of the little things. There was a little tickle in the back of my mind about something I was taught early on when I was learning Reiki and energy and all this stuff and manifesting and how to manifest stuff. Don't tell anybody about your special projects until you're ready to release them, because their energy can interfere with yours. That's a whole belief system, right?
Interesting point of view.
And interesting point of view. And so I went, but I it was a tickle. And it didn't come into my full conscious awareness until we were doing this whole conversation about
afterwards. Yeah,
what might have influenced, and I mentioned it to Ray, and she says, "Oh, well, that's an interesting point of view." And I went, "Oh, yeah, I guess it is."
Yeah,
and I had it at that time, so got to Control-Alt-Delete that one too.
Yeah, and mine was at some point, our twin feathers, happy early birthday, is getting ready to celebrate a big birthday next week on the 20th, and she really wanted to be in Tucson, Arizona for her birthday.
Yeah.
And I really wanted that for her because I know what it is. I have spent many, many, many years separated from my children on their birthdays and on my birthday. And
yeah, me too.
I really wanted that for her, besides the fact that I want to just grab all of her grandkids and hug them and squeeze them and love on them and her kids. And anyway, so what I started ignoring was this building sense of pressure to make things happen on a timeline.
Yeah.
So that we could go here and go there and get this done and get that done and make it out to Tucson by this time. And that the pressure started really building up in me. And I started, being a Scorpio especially, I wanted to really push back, and I was doing this dance of feeling the pressure and wanting to resist it and wanting to push back and wanting at the same time to let go of it. And so that, kiddos, is called conflict. Internal conflict. And guess what happens when we start having internal conflict? FUBAR. Look it up. Anyway, things don't go well.
Well, they don't go the way that part of you, it's just, it doesn't know what to do.
No.
Nature doesn't know what to do.
No.
Okay, you said you want this, but now you want that. And what about this? And what about that? And so it goes back and forth. That's what we experienced. What it was like
This
two
back and
steps
forth, back and forth,
forward
back and
and a step or two back. It was like this back and forth and back and forth. So it just, and then it fell through like a big hole. Bang.
Boom.
It's like we walked into the trap in the road and went into the pit for a moment.
Oh, that's an interesting visual.
Yeah, I just saw that with the straw
Pothole.
Or a pothole.
See, we live in Oklahoma, so for
Oh, it
me
could
it's
be
a
a
pothole.
pothole.
We hit a
Yeah.
pothole and we're going, okay, well, there's a pothole.
Yeah.
What now?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so it was, the thing is with conflict, anytime we have internal conflict, what it's going to do is, like you said, nature's out there
Confuse
trying to do whatever brings us joy, and we're sitting here going, I want this, I want that. And they're two opposing things, and nature's like, just make up your mind, would you please?
Yep.
And so nothing happens as a result.
Yeah, everything stopped.
Everything stops.
Right in its tracks.
And so it's been really, for me, there's a different type of joy that happens when I have awarenesses and I have realizations and I open in and step into these moments. And so it might sound weird to some people that I would find joy in this because, we didn't get our vehicle. We didn't, we're not on the road like we've dreamt of for eons. And yet we have cleared so much programming and we've allowed ourselves to open to being human.
Yeah, well, there we are.
Being human. And I've, for years, I know we've talked about this, the number of people that consider us to be, quote, gurus. And a guru is always a student, a real one. And so we're always learning. And as long as we're always open to learning, we're always going to be having these, quote, joyful moments of seeing what we never saw before.
Revelation, yeah.
And one of the things that I know in the last couple of days, I had a real big conversation with myself and my guy about is how can I not necessarily do things different. How can I take this experience forward with me? And it was, oh gosh, my guy is a lot like me, which is why he's my guy. And he says, stop ignoring the information. When you hear yourself say, especially because I said it out loud, oh, I'll never be able to get credit because of this, blah, blah, blah. When you hear yourself say that, in that moment, let yourself pause and go, well, now that's an interesting point of view. And if there's any resistance to doing that, I wonder why.
Yeah. I'm reminded of Byron Katie's work. Is that true is the first question.
Is that true?
That's her first question.
Yeah.
Is that true? I don't know.
I wonder.
Yeah, that's where we go, is I wonder.
Yeah, we go to the I wonder, because in the I wonder there's complete loving acceptance.
Yeah.
And so we get to see things that we don't see if we're being in the space of judgment, because it doesn't want to show us. Who wants to be judged? Certainly not our beliefs. And so when we wonder, then they go, oh, here you go. Here I am.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's a little bit of that's been going on in our exciting, amazing, wonder-filled journey that we're...
Oh, I just saw another little aspect that I can share before we wind this up, is that as we've been going through this process, we've been paring down to accommodate what we can live, what's the minimum we can live with, because we'll be in a little tiny, kind of tiny home driving on wheels. And so we've been giving stuff away right and left, going, okay, so does this go or does it stay? This go or does it stay? And the house is looking very, not empty, but more spacious and freer than it was before. And you received that awareness this morning about that, is that now
it feels like I can breathe.
Yeah.
There's space to breathe.
Yeah, we've done a lot of letting go of stuff. I mean, both of us are minimalists to begin with, and it's amazing how quickly you accumulate stuff. So
holy moly, yeah.
Yeah, I know we're not done, and that's okay. We're right where we are, and we're moving back into now, and what is now, and what is to be now. And so part of why we're doing this podcast is because this is one step, and then we're going to go into another thing, because the RV will come when it's time for us to come, because that intention and that desire is already on the board, and the universe, nature, whatever, are all that is, knows that. So we don't need to focus on that until we're given that inspiration. And so we're being given other inspirations to start building community and establishing stuff here where we are, so that when we get out there, we can do that on the road.
Yeah.
And
it's, for me, it's even beyond letting go of focusing on the RV and staying in that flow of magic.
Yeah.
As one of the things we talked about in the last few days is that the way that we found each other again was so completely magical.
Yep.
And neither one of us could have scripted that.
Nope.
It was so far outside of what was logical or
what we would have predicted.
There was no predictive for that.
No.
And so that was a good reminder that my guy gave me, was that, instead of moving back into some kind of matrix or some kind of logical way of making things happen, just open up and let it come to you.
Yeah.
In the most magical of way.
Yeah.
And I went, oh yeah, okay, that's more fun anyway.
It's so much more fun. Yeah.
Much more relaxing.
Yeah. And we have a lot of that. It happens to us a lot. A lot of little things, whether it's driving down the street and everything is like flow, boom, boom, lights, traffic,
meeting the right person at the right time.
Meeting the crazy right people, like us.
Yes.
Anyway, yes, you guys know what magic is.
Yeah.
I know you do.
So, yeah, that's kind of what's been going on, and we wanted to share that with you, and we want to make sure that we remind you that we are each one.
You are.
The recreation vehicle. There is never a requirement for a, quote, vehicle. We are the vehicle, and we are the ones that are creating and recreating over and over and over again.
Absolutely.
And the more we step into creating from that conscious awareness and letting go of any obstacles that we create, the faster, the bigger, and the happier, and the more expansive the magic.
The more magical.
Yes. Yay!
We love magic.
So, there's that. And until next time.
Until the next time.
Have a beauty-filled day.
beauty filled.
We love you.
Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.